we had this life. I had a lifetime goal, and I didn't care if I worked my whole life to achieve this, Brian. And I wanted to save 40 veteran lives from suicide. You know, because that's how many Australian soldiers we've lost in Afghanistan, but we've lost 30, 40 times that amount to suicide. And I thought, well, if I can achieve that, I'll die happy. But applying, what I just spoke to, we achieved that within a year.
This week, I interviewed Tim Thomas. Tim is a former Special Forces soldier who helps everyday people get their energy back by fixing one of the most overlooked problems out there, and that's poor sleep. We discussed how breathwork can save lives, along with turning sleep into your secret weapon, his best advice for men navigating mental health, how to access the off switch in your mind in just 3 breaths, and much, much more. Really enjoyed my interview with Tim. I know you will too. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Gryn, and I have Tim Thomas on. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Brian.
Great to have you on, all the way from Australia.
Yep, it's getting close to the shortest day of the year here, and you'd be in your longest day right now.
Yeah, loving these long days because the short ones, I mean, it gets dark so early. Up in Chicago. What time is it going to get dark for you?
Well, it gets dark around 5 p.m. So the sun's getting up at, it's actually, I'm very aware of when the sun comes up, 6:36 a.m. And I knew I was going to be on with you at 7. So I timed my morning run so I could be on top of a hill. Mm-hmm. And as that sun comes up, I'd be, doing some breath work and, having that first bit of light come through my eye sockets. Yeah, because in wintertime, things are kind of hard because when there's more nighttime than daytime, you've got more melatonin in your system. You're sort of in this hibernative state. Mm-hmm. So if you can do anything through the wintertime, when the summertime comes, you've got a whole lot more momentum.
Mm. And have you lived in Australia your whole life, or were you originally
from?
From?
I mean, I was in the forces for a bit, so I was overseas here and there for, but not primarily. Yeah, my home's always been in Australia.
Yeah. And just so people know, you've been focusing on like breath work and meditation. I like, you have an app. And
yes, true. But for me, meditation is thoughts controlling thoughts. Breath work is a chemical override. And, I've had a train wreck going on in my head and people say, oh, meditate. I'm like, that's just not an option right now. So breath work for me was the first taste of what peace and power felt like. And I was really surprised how immediate it was and also how natural it was, because I was one of those guys who told a doctor, hey, I can't sleep. And they go, here you go, here's a pharmacy. And I was what's the, do you have a rating for your podcast? Is there a language thing I just have to be aware of? I should have asked this beforehand.
Well, oh no, you're good. You can.
Okay, well, the technical term us veterans use is a drug fucked zombie for 6 years. And I can't get that time back, right? No one told me that breath work could alkalize my neural pathways and get me to sleep, give me the peace I was looking for. Mm-hmm. No one told me that breath work could be anti-inflammatory and heal and bring pain relief to a lot of my chronic injuries. And when I experienced this, I started seeing, and my way in was through the veteran space. I just started seeing so many other people in that place and introducing simple techniques that you could do for yourself through breath. It just kept working. And I'm not an academic, although I work with academics. I'm dyslexic, so I see things in patterns. And I'm like, well, if this is working, let's just keep doing it. Let's just keep doing it. And we had this I had a lifetime goal. And I didn't care if I worked my whole life to achieve this, Brian. And I wanted to save 40 veteran lives from suicide, because that's how many Australian soldiers we've lost in Afghanistan, but we've lost 30, 40 times that amount to suicide. And I thought, well, if I can achieve that, I'll die happy. But applying, what I just spoke to, we achieved that within a year. And I thought, well, if this is working in the veteran space, surely it'll work elsewhere. So how do we make it available for people anywhere on the planet to access this stuff? And so as much as I don't like technology, phones or apps, I created an app, and now it's ready for anyone who wants to create a lifestyle around, peace and power.
Wow. And when it comes to breath work, I mean, like we were talking a little bit off air, it's something that's free and could be easy for people to use, but that's why you don't hear about it. I remember thinking I used to do some fasting here and there, and I was like, well, no one talks about it because it's free and and you're not buying anything, and I sort of equate breath work a little bit to that as well.
Well, Brian, what most people don't realize, well, I didn't, I'll own this. Is this a video or audio, I should ask?
Both.
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 Okay. Well, can you see the morning sunlight coming in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't realize until I had a chronic injury is that the world we're in currently, Brian, isn't an age of information. Everyone thinks, oh, it's the internet, it's the age of information. I'm like, no, it's an age of marketing. And when I'm really hurting, I'm looking for solutions. The first 6 pages of Google are marketers, and marketers are, I'll give them this, they're really good at speaking the words inside your heart. Like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted. Shut up and take my money. Here's a testimonial from someone who's exactly in your situation, and this is what this pill did for them. And ultimately the goal of a marketer is to get a resale. So they'll promise power. Yes, that's what I want. They'll give you a very diluted version of it. And then the years will go on, money will leave your pocket, time will be lost. And then when you're hurting, you're in a very vulnerable position. And you end up blaming yourself. And then you're like, fuck that, I'm never trying that again. I tried getting help, help didn't help, so I'm never doing it again.
Yeah.
And that, if I didn't get my ass kicked so hard, yeah, and to be honest, I nearly necked myself. And I got a family, but when you're hurting that much, you end up understanding the ultimate goal of pain. And it's not to hurt you, it's to cause isolation, loneliness. I'm the only person going through this. You've got these unspoken words that you want to say, but you can't say, and they end up like rocks around your heart. And you just can't feel anymore. And I used to drink so much alcohol just to feel something, right? But what we discovered is that if somebody who's experienced what you've experienced speaks into your situation, then all of a sudden it makes those rocks around their heart dissolve. And you start hearing people say, like in the veteran space, you'd see guys' jaws pop open, right? Which is interesting. Their jaws would pop open and they'd say words like, fuck, I thought I was the only one, and that moment is the very moment healing begins. And this is what a lot of people don't understand because it's not on the spreadsheet, it's not seen. You can pour millions of dollars into, mental health, but if you're not breaking isolation, it's kind of like water off a duck's back. And it's so heartbreaking to see these people trying to help, but they don't see that it's completely missing the mark if you're not breaking the isolation and then consequently getting them out of fatigue. Because if you're feeling like you're the only one going through it and it's just me in this world, I can't drop my guard, and that's so goddamn exhausting. So that goal of 40 veteran lives in a year was achieved because we just simply saw that if we broke isolation, we got them out of fatigue. It's like this magic compass turned on inside of them. And it was so beautiful to see that they only needed like 2% of what people thought they needed. And they just sort of generated themselves once they had those two things. Yeah.
And the 40 veterans, was this something that, like, did they reach out to you or how did that happen?
Yeah. So once or twice a week, a guy would come up to me and say, do you remember that conversation? Do you remember that, program you run? And I'm like, nah, yeah. Okay. He says, well, I had everything in the car ready to kill myself, but that had me hanging on for another week. And I wasn't aware of this, but us humans, we're kind of built for connection. Brian, if you knew, I had your back 100 freaking %. and I knew you had my back 100 freaking percent. You know, that everything else becomes a very small detail. We're made for this connection.
Mm,
Trust is the most powerful thing us humans have. We don't need more stuff. We need more trust, right?
mm.
And once you understand that, you start seeing that the problem's not the problem. You know, everyone's chasing after the symptoms, trying to medicate the symptoms, but you're not addressing the heart of it. And once you get that, once you get to the center of the universe, stuff big impacts can happen very quickly with a small amount of resource, because you're actually reconnecting people. You know, and that's on the back of and so the programs that I used to run, their effectiveness was measured on how much it improved the quality of the person's sleep. It's a very simple metric, but it's very measurable, and it tells us that, you know, if someone's sleeping, that means they can relax and go into their rested state. But if I'm all alone, I'm all isolated, I can't drop my guard for a second, because if I do, something bad's going to happen, and it's going to be my fault. So hopefully I'm not painting too much of a wider picture there, but I hope that lands.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about quality sleep, and I'm sure working with veterans, you know, this is, you know, obviously an issue when they come back from whatever, you know, whatever they served in or whatever they did in their you know, coming back. Is that what you found with a lot of the veterans you work with? Is there just this lack of sleep, and then it just sort of snowballs into other things?
Well, the veterans highlight a society-wide problem because in our society, people just take poor sleep for granted.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you now, one thing we used to do in the special forces, Brian, was target our enemy's sleep.
Mm.
Because we knew, right, that if we could take out their sleep for 3 nights, it would mess them up better than a bullet.
Hmm.
All right. Um, and I come home to the country I love, and people are sleeping so poorly. There's no clear enemy, but it's almost like the economy is based on us not seeing our sovereign power. Because if we could see our sovereign power and we could generate the energy we need, the coffee industry would be out of business. You know, the energy drink would be out of business. The pharmaceutical industry would be out of business. So there's this conscious effort for people to not see their sovereign power. And this is why I could be so effective, because I simply connected people into their natural state. And we are naturally powerful. We're naturally energetic. Energy comes from us and through us. But if we're blocked up and we don't know how to remove those blockages, the world we live in says, oh, go see, you know, your GP, go see your psychologist. And I'm not anti-pill and I'm not anti, you know, establishment. There's times and places, but what no one
Sure.
tells us when we take these pills is there's a benefit to taking them, but there's also a massive cost, and there's nothing for free in this world. Um, and they also don't tell you how hard it is to come off these pills. And this is not a conversation. It's so easy. Oh, right. Yeah, that's good. In the first couple of weeks. Yeah, wow, that's making a difference. But you're not seeing that there is a cost to that. And like I said, man, I lost 6 years, and coming off those pills, it was like I had to pay back all the energy loans that were given me. And I've never had a second feel like a minute, having this extreme duress going through my system. A second seemed like a minute seemed like a day. And yeah, I went fully crazy trying to get off this stuff. And I completely understand why people who are in a vulnerable state, they take these pills. There's a short-term benefit, but then the longer they're on them, the harder it is to get off. And it's almost like an abusive relationship where, you know, if you don't do what that pill wants you to do, it'll punish you. You know?
Hmm. Yeah. And when did you learn? Where did you learn breath work and how that can help, you know, like transform your sleep and obviously help you with your mental health as well?
Oh, so I was on this mystic mountain, and this sage came to me. No, no, it wasn't like that.
I was getting into that for a
Yeah,
second.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Um, but the reality is I was tired as hell in the dirt of Afghanistan. And there's one thing they teach your soldiers is before we take a sight picture, you take a deep breath in, you let it out slowly, and then you squeeze the trigger. And I was beyond fatigue, beyond poor sleep. You know, we'd lost mates, we'd had limbs blown off others, and I'm thinking I'm going to die. I'm like, what's the freaking point? And you never got anything you'd call sleep, but there was this thing in my head where I'm like, there's no points. Don't even try. You've only got 2 cents worth of energy. Just protect what's left. Then after a few minutes, this kind of voice said, Tim, if you've only got 2 cents worth of energy, you better invest that 2 cents wisely. And so when I was horizontal, I would do this thing where you take a deep breath in, let it out, but I'd focus on my non-dominant hand, not my trigger finger, my non-dominant hand. And I would focus on my left thumb and I'd breathe into that. And I noticed if I took enough deep breaths, I would turn that thumb into light. It's like it would become white. And then I'd do my pointer finger, you know, my index, my ring, my pinky, and then I'd pull that through my whole body. And then whatever sleep I got, it was so much more restorative. And I woke up with 8 cents worth of energy. I'm like, well, there's a pattern. With this 8 cents, I'll invest it again. Breath work before bed or before sleep. And I got 16. I kept on just this little bit of whatever I had, I kept on reinvesting it. And then I got to this point where I'm like, I'm actually feeling pretty good. And I started doing, you know, extra exercise, you know, some push-ups, some sit-ups, lifting an ammo tin. This is all in the field. And it's not like I wasn't busy. And then I sort of got to this point where I'm like, I'm pretty solid right now, but I was also in a team. And I realized if my team was having a bad day, you know, I'm having a bad day. And I then started this sort of trying to help others. I didn't know what breathwork was, but out of my energy, I started helping others. And that's sort of where it started. And then, and like I said, I didn't know breathwork was a thing. But then I'd gotten out of the army, and I was running around just doing a jog with a mate, and I had a cold sore, and I just mentioned I was just going to go down to the chemist and spend $20 on some lysine. And he goes, no, don't do that. Just do this particular breathwork technique, and you will get rid of the cold sore. I'm like, well, you know, if it saves me $20, I do it, and it does. I'm like, oh, there's something to this. So I start finding out more and more about breathwork, and you know, Wim Hof is one of the greatest pioneers in that space. And then I was doing it, but it wasn't until I had a divorce, and you know, I'd lost house, home, money, regular access to kids, and there is a war zone worse than Afghanistan going off in my head. Sleeping on the couch of my parents' place. And at 2 a.m., I'm not sleeping. And at that point, I knew breath work would give me peace if I breathed. But in that state of duress, it's like I couldn't. It was like the crap that was going on in my head wanted to keep going on. And if I took a step to try and stop it with my breath, I just couldn't breathe. And so I remember getting up 2 a.m. and I'm going to do drugs, alcohol, self-harm, maybe all three. But it was so ironic. I knew breath would give me peace, but I couldn't do it. So I looked at my left thumb and I said, Tim, you can take one breath. Take one fucking breath. And I drove it into my chest really hard. Oh my gosh, that worked. Take two breaths. And I drove 2 fingers in. This is working. Take 3. 5 breaths, get to 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then somewhere between breath 15 and 25, all that crap that was in my head got kicked out. And it was like the rest of my brain went, Tim, this is working. Don't stop. Keep kicking. You've kicked the crap out. Keep doing this. And I'm like, shit, I have to start. So I started making these little recordings to tell me to breathe a certain way, just to sort of, because I noticed that even though I wanted to breathe, I couldn't. I needed an external point, right? And that would actually work in the worst. I thought, well, if it works in the worst of the worst situations, I've every confidence that this will work with others. And so I started making these little recordings to go to sleep. And then I started making these little recordings to get out of bed, because I would wake up feeling like lead. But breath work sort of turned that lead into gold. And I'm like, this is just so consistent. So uh, a mate of mine who hadn't been sleeping for 38 years, and he just thought it was normal.
Yeah.
I gave him a prescription of breath work. 7 days later, he goes, I've slept for the last 7 nights. And he became my business partner. We created breathwork in bed, and the genius of that is all you have to do is tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and then it just falls out of your phone. Because everyone's talking about sleep, how important it is. Everyone's giving you hacks, but what I've noticed is if you can't drop it into someone's lifestyle and make it easy and effortless, if you can't make it like a habit easy and effortless, then it's really hard for them to take it up, because they're already busy and they're often tired because they're so busy. So I thought if we can just make it easy and effortless for people to breathe, to go to sleep, breathe to wake up, I think, in my perspective, if you really care about somebody, you'll care about how they sleep. Just like, if they're your enemy, you'd want to deny them sleep.
Yeah. And wow, thanks for sharing that. And so now what is that your main goal, to just work with individuals and spread the power of breath work and how it can sort of help you with sleep and stress? And I mean, we talk a lot about, like, you're right. Like, we talk about how you want to create like a sleep environment. And obviously there's certain things that can help you get sleep. But yeah, I mean, I always find I sleep pretty well, but there are times where, you go to the bathroom, you come back, it's like, might take you a little bit longer to fall asleep. Those are some of the times where I might struggle a little bit. And I always try to just focus on my breath. And that usually helps. But yeah, it is something that I feel like you have to practice to get better at it. I don't know your thoughts on that.
And it can be quite hard, because I know my subconscious mind was very used to running the night. It would, I call them stress weeds. The analogy I use is, think of your mind like a garden, whatever you water grows. And for years I was watering the weeds of stress, and they knew they would run the show at nighttime.
Yeah.
And so I'd get up at 2 a.m. and these things were like, great, we can take all of Tim's resources. And so just to have a little button you can press to tell you to breathe a certain way. And even though I know it works, there's always that part of me that says, this is bullshit, it's not going to work. But then a minute or two and you're like, oh, there it is. And I can't tell you, in some other reality, there's a Tim that's really cranky and possibly not even here, because he didn't discover the resources. So if you ask me what my main goal is, breathwork in bed is just a small part of that. My main goal for everyone I meet, yourself and your listeners, is for them to become what I call physically sovereign. To see that underneath their skin, they have a host of wonderful resources, and you can access that. And ignorance of your own incredible resources won't get you out of the impact of looking outside of yourself for answers. So like I said, I didn't know my breath work could help me sleep, restore peace and healing. So I got addicted to pills for 6 years. My main goal, like I said, physical sovereignty, for people that want to realize just how wondrously we're made.
Hey everyone, quick interruption here. If you are looking to gain energy, lose inches around your waist, and build strength, well, look no further than my book, The Step-Ladder System, 6 Steps to Lifelong Health and Vitality. What you get with the book is my full step-by-step plan and blueprint that I've worked with all my clients with, packed into one book. With part 1, you're going to lay the foundation, tackle any common challenges that might come in your way. Part 2 is my 6-pillar blueprint, how to set yourself up with a solid plan and know exactly what to do when life throws any curveballs. And lastly, step 3 are learning to implementation, a plan for getting results over the next weeks and beyond. So there you have it. I'll leave a link in the show notes for my Step-Ladder System book. Now back to the podcast. Well, you mentioned before you have sort of a little
Yeah.
activity we can do, because I'm big into like performance. Like I'm a golfer, so and I coach high school kids golf. So um, but anybody in that matter, like golf is one of those things where you're sort of out there alone, like, um, and it can be it can be a bit stressful out there if you're not doing the things you want to do. So like a lot of times we say, oh, well, take a deep breath and this and that. But anything I can share with the kids that I work with and even myself for golf would be great. So
No problem at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that will make the impossible possible and bring peace when needed. Okay, so this one's called the
sounds good.
breath of peace and possibility. And all it is 3 breaths, and you will get back into control of your body. In fact, I was showing this to a bunch of high school students the other week. It's the quickest way to get. It's like dipping your toe in the ocean of breath and feeling amazing when you do it. So it's really simple. And if I'm in a controlled environment, and I'll just start with breath work isn't hard. What's hard about it is that you've been breathing your whole life. Okay, so we've got a certain inbuilt muscle memory to it.
Hmm.
Okay, and so to do anything different can be kind of a bit of a jar to the system. So when I'm working with somebody, I always ask 3 questions. I'm going to ask them of you, and I just invite your listeners to draw these questions to themselves. Brian, do you give permission to your breath to fully nourish your physical body?
Yes.
Awesome. Brian, do you give your breath full permission to fully nourish your conscious mind?
Yes.
Do you give your own breath full permission to fully nourish your unconscious mind?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so this is really simple. We simply breathe in and out. Okay, and if you did that, congratulations. That's your first step to empowerment. You become conscious of your breath. Because mental health, in my book, isn't a mental problem. It's a physical disconnect problem. When we're so focused out there, we disconnect from our own body. What do you see someone doing before they freak out? They lose control of their breath. So connecting back to your body with your breath is the first step. But so now what we're going to do, we're going to build on that basic inhale, exhale, is when we breathe in, we're going to breathe in again and again and again and again. Cool, cool?
Hmm.
So I'll just invite you to blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, blow it out, shake it out, 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 out. Then breathe in, more, 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 more. Hold it, wriggle your shoulders, and then just let it out. Now, did you notice when you breathed in again and again that a bit of extra space opened up in your top third?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to call that your secondary inhale. Your primary is where you normally breathe in and out. Your secondary is your top third. So let's just focus on that for a second. Breathe in and then breathe in again, in and again and again, and just focus on that secondary. So I just encourage you to blow it out, shake it out, 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 out. And then breathe in and then breathe into that secondary space. Hold it when you're in, hold it, wriggle it, feel it opening up, wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. And if it feels good, let it out with a bit of a sigh. Okay. Now, some people feel a bit of energy after that. And if you do, just let it in. Okay. Energy has an intelligence all of its own. It'll go to where it's needed. Some people, stretch their neck. Some people yawn. Whatever that is, that energy's there for you, right? And this is why we've got to give it permission, because breath work in many ways is an act of receivership to let this awesome stuff in. So, like I mentioned, our bodies are incredible. And the thing that puts a big smile on my face, Brian, is showing people just how wonderful their body is. We've had these bodies our whole life and they can do incredible things, but we just don't know until we're shown, right? So what a lot of people don't know, Brian, is in our thumb and 2 fingers, we have these power buttons. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, and when it gets to our secondary inhale, we're going to pinch our thumb into our two fingers. Okay, pinch it down really hard, and just notice the impact that has on your secondary inhale. So does that make sense? So we're going to blow it out. We're going to breathe in. And when it gets to the secondary inhale, we're going to pinch our two fingers into our thumb as hard as we can and just observe the impact on our secondary inhale. Cool, cool?
Cool.
So let's blow it out, shake it out. Blow it out, shake it out. Out, 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 out. And just have your power buttons ready. Start breathing in. Then hit those power buttons. In. Hold it, wriggle your shoulders, feel that space opening up, and then let it out with a nice big sigh. Just let that integrate. Some people feel something, some people don't. It's okay. But did you notice, Brian, any difference when you hit those power buttons on your secondary inhale?
Maybe a little bit. I felt I could go get like a deeper breath.
Yeah. But. Yeah. So this is a muscle group underneath here. And we're used to sort of going to a certain range of movement. But to open that movement up, when we hit these power buttons, we actually sort of activate them a little bit more. So I'm going to show you how to activate them even more. So as we hit our power buttons now, we're going to look up. But look up in a way that we're almost trying to roll our eyeballs into the back of our head, okay? And we're going to look up, and you'll notice that'll sort of naturally raise your head as well. And I do need to say this is breathing through the nose.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, okay, that's what I've been doing. So
yeah, and so just if you're listening to this, we're going to blow it all the way out with our mouth closed. We're going to breathe in. We're going to hit those power buttons. We're going to look up and sort of open our chest a bit more.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So blow it out, shake it out. Out, 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 out. Have your power buttons ready. Breathing in, looking up, raise your chin, pinch your power buttons. Open, open, open. Hold your breath, wriggle, 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 wriggle those shoulders, feel that chest opening up. And if it feels good, let it out with a sigh. Now, if you look at my nose, okay, I'm flaring my nostrils. Behind our nose, we have sinuses. And when I used to be a professional fighter before I was in the Special Forces, and one thing my coach used to say to me was, before you do a combination, snort through your nose. Okay, do a big snort, because in his mind, it drew oxygen straight through to your brain, and it brought you clarity. Now, what they found is when we breathe through our nose, it produces nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It's good for your brain. It's good for your mood regulation. It's good for your heart and your lungs. So nasal breathing is super healthy, but it also gives you sort of a certain amount of clarity when you really snort in through the nose. So we're going to do exactly what we did before, but we're going to double the speed. Okay, so we're going to blow it out, and I'll give you a little demonstration for those watching this on video. Blow it out, and then we're going to really roll our eyeballs up and really snort that as we lift our chest, so we can get the velocity of air going over our sinuses, and we're absorbing oxygen through our sinuses as well. Cool.
Right.
All right. So this is blowing it out, shaking it out, 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 out. With those power buttons ready, double the speed of the inhale, roll your eyeballs in your head. Hold it, wriggle it, wriggle it, wriggle it, and then let it out with a sigh. Now, Brian, I'm going to correct your swing right now, okay? I know I'm using a golfing term. You got that inhale has to be twice as fast.
Okay.
So you know how forward momentum is relative to going back momentum.
Sure.
So I want you to draw that all the way back. So blow it all the way out, like blow out more than usual. In fact, if you need to, face the ground. And this is what I encourage people to do. When they blow it out, face the ground. And when they're all the way out, then they spring up, with their power buttons, eyeballs rolled up, looking at the ceiling, almost leaning back.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So blow it out, shake it out, head down towards your knees, head down towards your knees, out, head forward, out, out, with those power buttons, mouth closed. Now double the speed of your inhale as you look at the ceiling. That's it. Hold it, wriggle it. Wriggle. Feel that chest opening up, open, and then let it out with a big sigh. And just sit with that for a second. That noise you made told me you're doing it right. Okay. And this one I call the breath of possibility, because you notice when we breathe in, we straighten our structure. Okay. So we're not just getting more energy because we're oxygenating. We're getting more energy because we've got the right structure. And our energy system, electrical generator is our brain. We've got these nerves running through our body. And our nerves are like hose pipes. If you step on your garden hose, you don't have much water going through it. Well, look what happens. When I've got crap in my head that I don't want there, I start hunching over. You've seen the guys with the weight of the world on their shoulders. They are literally pinching off their energy systems. And in many ways, it's a self-creating prophecy. Oh, life is terrible. Well, yeah, it is when you've stepped on your own energy system. But proper breathing gives you proper alignment. And what I encourage people to do, and this is the takeaway here, is have these power buttons, take them with you through your day. And we're all human. Things piss us off. Things frustrate us. Things get us down. We have shit in our head we don't want. But with this, I'll be discreetly in public, drawing that air into my brain, displacing any thoughts I don't want, hold it, discreetly wriggle it, and then I'll let that energy through the system. And that puts me back into control. Things that are impossible become possible with more energy. Because, if I've only got 5 cents worth of energy and I'm trying to solve a problem that costs $1, I'm like, nah, screw this. But if I can generate $1,000, $5 is not a big deal. And so this is what the breath of possibility is. So I encourage people just to use this as there's a few analogies here. When you're not in the hospital and you've got like a pain relief pump, when you're in pain, you press a button. Well, this is what these buttons are. Self-medication. Okay. You create your structure, create your state, hold it, wriggle it, and that is one of the ones that if you get nothing from this podcast, if you use that, the more, there's no top or bottom to this experience. The more you do this, the more you'll get from that, the more you'll engage from it, the more you'll let go into it. So that's why body, mind, unconscious mind will just be so nourished when you focus on this. Now, I'll leave it at this, but this breath of possibility dovetails into the breath of peace. I'll give you a link that you can give to your people that they can see the whole thing. But hopefully in that really simple, integrated movement, if people can take that, I feel like, we've done our job where they've got a practical tool. Because, I don't want to just talk about this stuff and not give people, access to the wonderful world of breath.
Yeah. The link is, I think I have the link, breathworkinbed.com.au.
Oh, yes. That's all in there. But the link I was talking to was a tutorial on the breath of peace and possibility. I can give you all that so you can have it in the show notes and people can do a deeper dive into that. I mean, we've had a play, we've had an experience, and if you like that sort of taste tester, there are a whole buffet behind it.
Hey, I mean, I love this stuff. I think that like having these tools that have with you just in everyday life, someone cuts you off or whatever it is, it's like, when you're in control and like you're able to sort of regulate your system, I think like then you can deal with a lot of things that come your way.
Oh yeah. And if we don't, we end up looking for substances to help us find that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this because I feel like in sport, this is great too. I'm sure you've worked with guys that are in sport, and golf's a big one, and there's obviously any sport you could apply it to, but yeah.
Well, it's amazing. Just because someone's a professional athlete doesn't mean they actually understand their body. And it always amazes me how many professional athletes don't know how to breathe properly.
Right.
Um, and so, I mean, the good news is, when people discover this stuff, it's a very rapid uptake. Oh, that felt good. Yes, please. That felt good. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's
And I
like
can
I said,
feel it
there's
now. I could feel it a little bit. I mean, yeah, it's like a little bit of just an uptick, you know?
mm, mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that was just a couple breaths. If you were to stay with me an hour and we did a particular breathwork technique, you would experience things that words could not describe. And the reason why breathwork is so powerful, Brian, is think of us as humans, and we weren't always sentient. We weren't, we didn't always have a thinking mind. So before we were sentient, before we were putting, paintings on rock walls, we were breathing. And that deep ancient wiring lives inside of us. And that's why I can confidently say to people, it will outrank and kick out all your stress, all your ruminating thoughts.
Mm.
And I used to weaponize this. So in a fight, I'd always be the guy that could beat the guy who was more experienced, not because my training and my thoughts and experience was as good as him, but if I knew if I took out his lungs, that would make a black belt a white belt. And this is how powerful our lungs are. It outranks your thinking mind. And to me, that's about the most powerful thing someone can know, to have that power inside of themselves and to access it whenever you want, because we end up becoming a slave to our thoughts. And then I ended up taking a bunch of pills to try and control them. And that was never the solution. The solution, is inside of us, but what we have been denied is access to that power. And like I said, once people tap into this and they become sovereign, it's a good day to be alive.
Mm. Yeah. This is great. Yeah. I was saying to you before we got on the show that I had another breathwork individual out of New York, and it's been a while, but sometimes you got to be reminded of how important just simple, basic things like breathing. But, obviously there's certain techniques, but if you can get good at those techniques and just be able to use them, whether you're trying to sleep or trying to, get over something that, is causing stress, and it's just a great tool to have.
You're right. And the problem is we're so busy in our busy Western world. If I don't have something reminding me to do a certain thing, I usually don't do it. And
Right.
so that's why, I've spent the last 2 years creating breath work in bed, without sounding like I'm a self-licking ice cream here. Do you have that expression in the US, a self-licking ice cream? Oh, that person's great. Just ask him,
Yeah, right.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
so.
in one way or the other. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know I don't think we use that term, but I like it. It's good.
Well, without sounding like one of those, I mean, that's what I try to do with breath work in bed, because I knew myself, if something doesn't fall out of my phone to remind me, I don't do it. Okay. So all you have to do is tell this, app what time you want to sleep, what time do you want to wake up, and then it falls out of your phone. So you can have the good stuff exactly when you want it. Um, and it becomes a lifestyle, because people are always chasing hacks, but hacks don't cut it. They stick around for as long as we're motivated to do that. Um, but if we can create a lifestyle of going to sleep with peace and breath and getting out of bed with breath and power, um, yeah, it's about, for me, that's about the best thing you can do for somebody.
Mm. Well, Tim, this was great. Um, I'm glad we got to do some breath work.
Yeah, me too.
Reminded me the importance of it, and hopefully you followed along, whether you're in the car or watching on YouTube. I'll put links in the show notes. Best place for people to find you, is it the the breathwork doc breath I'm sorry, breathworkinbed.com.au.
Correct.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Tim, thanks again. Glad we connected, and I will put a link in the show notes for people to find you. And I appreciate all the knowledge you dropped on us today.
Appreciate you, Brian, and have a fantastic day. And I hope all your listeners keep breathing for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, hopefully I'll get my golf game better too. So I'll let you know how that goes. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the show. I know there's thousands of podcasts out there, and you chose to listen to mine. I will put a link in the show notes if you want to connect with my guest. And if you are looking for one-on-one consulting with me, I will put a free 15-minute link so you can set up a call to see if you're fit for my 6-month health breakthrough program. So thanks again. Feel free to rate and subscribe. I would love that to help support the podcast. And till next time, have a great rest of the day. And I will see you on my next podcast. Thanks so much.